on an all-new Dr. Phil. Her 2 older sons were murdered.
You just want them to come home.
Her 2 younger boys.
She has called them the worst sons in the world and not as handsome as the sons that she lost.
Say she's angry.
She picked up a hatchet and split my brother's phone in half.
And grieving.
The blood-soaked rug was still there at the campsite.
Why did you bring your 2 boys back to the site of the murder? Today's going to be a changing day in your life. You've never had anybody working harder to bring you to the threshold of change than right now. It has become an all too common scene. A gunman opening fire on an unsuspecting crowd, killing as many as possible. Mass shootings in this country are on the rise, claiming more than 1,000 lives this year alone. Take a look.
The madman shooting into a defenseless crowd inside the Borderline Bar and Grill. The reality of what's going on sets in.
They gathered to worship like any other Saturday when terror burst through the door. A gunman, armed with an AR-15 assault rifle, 3 handguns, shot and killed 11 people in a hail of bullets.
The 19-year-old under arrest for one of the worst school shootings in U.S. history appeared before a judge today, officially charged in the Valentine's Day deaths of 17 people.
Breaking news, an active shooter on the Las Vegas Strip.
Get out of here, there's gunshots coming from over there.
After these tragic events fade from the news, what you don't often hear, what you don't often read in the headlines are the stories of the surviving family members left to pick up the pieces of their now fragmented lives. And such is the case with my guest, Karina, who wrote into the show in dire need of help for herself and her 2 teenage sons who are still dealing with the aftermath of a gruesome murder. Now, Karina's 2 oldest sons and their father, along with his girlfriend and some of her family, were all violently killed during a fall camping trip just 3 years ago.
My sons, Nathan, he's 23, Austin, 21, and their dad, Tom, were murdered brutally.
Nathan and Austin Camp were among 6 people shot and killed at a campsite earlier this month.
Nathan and Austin went camping with their dad and Tom's girlfriend, Hannah, her little boy, Cade, and her mother and father, Carl and Cindy. A man approached them at the campsite. His name is William Hudson. He is the son of the man that sold my ex-husband the land. He lives next door. Later, I learned that William Hudson was upset that his father sold the land away. That night, Mr. Hudson suggested that they all drove over together to Hudson's house. They could fill up the back of the vehicle with as much firewood as they wanted. My sons, Nathan and Austin, got into the back seat. Hudson got into the front passenger seat, and Tom was driving. Once they approached the back of Hudson's land, he shot all of them. Nathan, my oldest one, was not deceased. Hudson ran out of ammunition, so he went and got a different gun, which is a high-powered, like a big heavy-duty hunter's rifle, and he went up to Nathan and pointed the gun in his face. A witness heard him screaming for him not to do that. He said, "Please stop, please stop." And then there was one last gunfire.
A suspect related to the property's former owners has been arrested and charged with 6 counts of murder.
Even though he got sentenced with the death penalty, I feel that I have been sentenced to the death penalty as well. My life is absolutely shattered.
Well, Karina's family is concerned with how she has handled, or more specifically, not handled, her surviving sons since the gruesome murders. In fact, just 1 month after the horrific event, on Christmas Eve, she took those 2 boys camping at the exact location where the murders happened.
They didn't deserve this. They didn't do anything wrong.
Roland Camp and his brother Quentin in shock that their older brothers and dad are gone forever.
As soon as we learned about the deaths in the family, I instantly became the adult of the house.
After the deaths, I definitely tried to man up, but I found that I was more emotionally unstable.
I learned a lot about what happened that night from going to the trial.
Karina brought Roland and Quentin to the trial, and they sat through all the pictures and all the graphic details.
Nathan and Austin were killed on a vehicle similar to a golf cart. I picture my son's blood all over the back seats and all over the floor, and the brain matter splattered all over the place. That's where Tom's blood was. That's the steering wheel he was slumped over.
They would tell us ahead of time if there was pictures going to be shown or they were going to get graphic, and some would get up and leave. But Roland and Quentin felt that their mom would be upset if they got up to leave.
I went to the trial for my mom because I know that my mom couldn't handle it by herself. There's no other reason for me to be there. She cried very often during the trial, so the person sitting next to her, which is always Quentin or me, would always have to comfort her.
They would put their arms around her, play with her hair, or try to relax her with their fingers in her hand and hold hands, and they would try to calm her down.
During the trial, we had to comfort my mom during her more emotional moments, like when we were going over the pictures.
When I see braces, I picture Nathan's teeth with his braces still connected laying in the mud. Before I go to sleep, I'll hear my son screaming for his life those last few moments. It's nightmarish.
Well, Karina, I'm glad to meet you and very sorry for the circumstance.
Thank you.
And let me tell you, words are just not adequate to tell you how sorry I am for your loss. As a parent, I can't even imagine what it's like to lose a child, and certainly to lose a child in such a sudden and violent way. I mean, that's the most traumatic thing a parent can go through. I mean, we know that from a psychological standpoint. So when I say I'm very sorry for your loss, that seems cliche. It seems easy to say, but I really have thought about what you've gone through. I've really tried to connect to that, and so it's very thoughtful when I tell you I'm really sorry for what you've had to go through.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And this has been such a horrific thing in your life. When I hear you talk about it on tape, it seems to me that when you talk about it, it's as raw and painful for you today as it was the first day you heard about it.
Oddly enough, it seems like it gets worse every day.
How do you cope with this? What is your strategy?
Initially, I wasn't able to really eat. And immediately after it happened, like for the first 6 months or so, I couldn't eat. And I started getting I started realizing that if I had a beer or two during the day, then it would settle my stomach and kind of calm me down a little bit. So I've been using beer and a little bit of alcohol pretty much daily to kind of get me through the day and kind of numb things for me.
Okay, so you're self-medicating with alcohol to numb the pain.
Yes.
This was your ex-husband, Tom,
yes,
that took the boys camping.
Yes.
And I've noticed that very pointedly, you blame Tom for this. Here's a quote from your Facebook. You said, "Tom, I truly loved you, but someday when I die, I'm going to destroy you for what you have allowed to happen to my sons. I hope you are ashamed of yourself, feeling the pain, and understand that you were at fault even more than Hudson. Hudson being the man that pulled the trigger that killed your children. You were supposed to protect them, you blank blank."
I do really feel a lot of animosity against him for putting all of them in such a dangerous situation and not protecting them.
Why did you bring your two boys, Quentin and Roland, back to the site of the murder?
Well, because Nathan and Austin and Dad and Hannah and Lil Cade, they set out on a mission to camp on the land that we bought, and I was hell-bent about doing that. I wasn't going to let Hudson not allow us to camp on our land.
When you got there, there was still remnants of this murder scene, correct?
Yes, sir. There was a little baby potty for Cade, kind of behind the bushes. And then there was a rug kind of pushed off into the bushes, and it was blood-soaked. It was still there at the campsite.
How did it affect you to see that? To see this blood-soaked rug?
That was, you know, you have to remember I had my boys with me, so I was trying to not make a big deal out of it because I didn't want to upset them. But for me, it just struck.
But if it sent you spinning...
It did.
As an adult, how do you suppose that impacted two young boys?
They haven't talked about it since then. They didn't really pay much attention to it. I don't even know if you ask them about that now, if they'd even remember.
One of our jobs is to nurture our children. Yes. Is to nurture them and to give them a soft place to fall and to bring them through difficult times. How do you think they would grade your paper?
I think they think I'm doing great. I think my sons are very proud of me.
Okay. Well, Karina's two surviving sons are here, and they say their mom has been going downhill since the murders, and they feel that it's their job to take care of her. We're going to meet them after the break.
My brother and I really didn't have any time to grieve because we would go to school almost immediately after the death, and when we went home, we had to take care of our mother.
I'm graduating this year, and I've chosen not to go away because I need to take care of my family and my mother. My mom is an alcoholic.
Tomorrow.
I don't like my nose, my lips.
You say you look like a monster.
What is going on?
I just feel gross.
With the women in this family.
I had anorexia.
Do you think you've modeled this for these two?
Plus, Game of Thrones' Sophie Turner's own battle with body image.
I used to get a lot of comments about my weight. I have a big nose. I just got very self-conscious. I felt very alone.
That's tomorrow. Then, on Wednesday, he lives at his mom's.
He's 45.
And has no job.
I'm going to go work at a dispensary.
A marijuana dispensary?
Yes.
So you're going to wait for Missouri to change their laws?
That's Wednesday.
After everything that's happened, I feel like I have lost control of my life. One day, instead of putting laundry in the laundry machine, I took the trash from the kitchen, put it in the laundry machine, and turned it on. Everybody says, oh, it'll get better with time. I'm getting worse. I absolutely feel like I am losing my mind.
Well, Karina says she is filled with bitterness after the murders of her two oldest sons, and it is severely affecting her relationship with her two surviving sons, Quentin and Roland. She has called them the worst sons in the world, and not as great or as handsome as the sons that she lost. Both Quentin and Roland say they're used to the abuse, but they are at a loss as to what to do with their mother, whom they love greatly and care about dearly. Take a look.
Nathan and Austin Camp were among 6 people shot and killed at a campsite earlier this month.
I feel like one day they're just gonna come back from their vacation from Texas, and my brain doesn't accept that it's just not the way it is.
My brother and I really didn't have any time to grieve because we would go to school almost immediately after the death, and when we went home, we had to take care of our mother.
I'm graduating this year, and I've chosen not to go away because I need to take care of my family and my mother. My mom is an alcoholic.
I don't eat at all, and I just have a beer every few hours. After dinner, I will open a bottle of wine.
After she's actually starting to get drunk, then she'll start exploding into a rampage.
2 nights ago, you slapped me like 3 times that night.
I know.
She says vicious things that she doesn't mean.
You're the worst son in the world. You're not as handsome as Nathan. You guys aren't as great as Nathan and Austin were.
If you want to insult us, if you want to rage, that's fine. Quentin and I are used to that by now. Just avoid it being physical.
My brother and my mom got into a fight recently where she threw his computer into the pool. Then my mom got so angry that she picked up a hatchet and split my brother's phone in half.
You left.
That was just one night.
Hey, I'll leave you alone with Mom. I wouldn't leave you alone with Mom.
What do you mean? I wanted to go to the football game.
That's the rule, Quinn.
No.
You don't abandon me with Mom. I don't abandon you with Mom.
No. My mom is stuck in a vicious cycle.
Quinton sees it as she's grieving and she's weak and we just need to take it, but I honestly have no tolerance for that behavior. We've said no to alcohol and we've said no to drugs. How does she have such terrible addictions and we still don't? We're children and she's the adult. We're constantly worrying about her, and there is no way that we could live the rest of our lives like this.
Okay, good to meet you, boys. And let me say to you, I said it to your mother when she first came out. I'm very, very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I mean, you've lost your father, your brothers. I mean, this is such an unnatural thing to go through. I can't, you'll not hear me say I know how you feel. You just can't know if you haven't been there. So I'm very, very sorry for your loss. And both of you feel like you really haven't had an opportunity to properly grieve in this situation, correct?
Yeah, I'd say that's correct.
Why have you not had that opportunity to properly grieve?
As soon as we heard what happened, I realized that, you know, with no Nathan and Austin there anymore, and my dad, that there had to be someone that takes you over and becomes like the man of the house.
You say you were 12 years old watching TV when you found out the news.
Yeah.
Right? And what was your reaction when you found out about this? What went through your mind and heart when you found out about it?
Disbelief. Must have been something like a misunderstanding.
Right.
Like just, I don't know, like a gun went off and everyone just like rushed to conclusions that something serious or like something super bad happened, and it was just miscommunication.
Mm-hmm. You're concerned about your mother. I asked her what her relationship was with you guys at this point, and she said that she feels like you would be very proud of her.
I'm absolutely proud of her. You can't put standards on grieving, and things we've gone through is ridiculous. Expecting her to be perfect after everything that we've been through is unnecessary.
I think if it was anyone else or any other mother in the world, they would have killed themselves by now. And the fact that she's here, that's more than anyone can ask. And I think that she's doing a great job handling it. I'm worried about how she's gonna get past this.
What's your biggest fear?
I don't want my mom to kill herself, and I don't want my little brother to kill himself.
And do you think your mother is at risk for taking her own life?
Absolutely. I think that sometimes she says it, and that's only when she's in a drunken rampage that she says these things. And when, in the morning, she says that, you know, she doesn't mean that, but, you know, they call it truth serum for a reason. So that's always a little bit of doubt.
Is he right to be concerned?
No, I would never do that. I've been through enough. I'll get drunk and I'll just say all these things. I don't know if it's just my way of getting aggressions out, or I have been a monster. I have been a monster, and I don't know if that's... It seems like it gets worse.
Tell me why you're concerned about your brother.
Just because of the way he handles things. He doesn't like anyone, and that is including my mother and I, it feels like sometimes.
What do you say about all this? We're talking about you like you're not here.
Well, I'd say it's pretty normal behavior. Just, I wouldn't say that it's because of the grief or anything. I'd say that it's not really a problem in the first place, but if you were to put it as a problem and you had to blame it on something, I'd say that it's probably puberty, you know?
I don't know what's best for him. Am I supposed to push him, or am I supposed to let him?
Well, you know, strangely enough, as subjective and idiosyncratic, as individualized as the grief process is, there are some markers that can answer that question for you and for you and for you. So we're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and I want to put this in clear focus. We'll be right back. Everybody lies. It's just a matter of why.
What lies ahead?
I have a lying addiction. I lied about having muscular dystrophy. I bought a wheelchair.
In Dr. Phil May.
You are worse than cancer. You have to pay.
See this? My guest, Angie, says that is ironclad evidence that her husband, Joe, is having an affair.
I can see the buttocks of a woman sitting on top of Joe.
You got the house wired with cameras and microphones. You put a motion detector under the bed.
Yes.
You actually think that he's bringing her not only into your home, but into your bed while you're in it.
Did you lie about being in the military? Oh, wait, what now? Yeah, you can't hear me? Come on, bro.
My earpiece slipped out.
Their mother, Cammie, was their biggest supporter. Now Cammie is a homeless drug addict who has been arrested 12 times.
People call it dumpster diving. I call it treasure hunting. I've eaten fruit out of the garbage.
You've got to be willing to look her in the eye and say, I am done.
I don't even think I want her back.
You're going to bury your mother and spend the rest of your life without her if something doesn't happen.
I can't do this. I can't do it. I can't do it.
When I wake up in the morning, I really enjoy to have a Guinness beer for breakfast. I don't think I'm an alcoholic. I can go without drinking. I don't have the shakes, I don't have withdrawals, but I cannot sleep, I can't eat, I'm anxious, I'm grumpy. So being drunk is better than the alternative of what my life is like without it.
Let me talk to y'all about grief. What I want to first acknowledge for the three of you and for everyone out there that has gone through this, I've gone through it, I'm sure most people have gone through it at some time in their life. It is a very individual process. The biggest misconception that I see people make is they think that how much they grieve, how long they grieve, and how deeply they hurt is a reflection of how much they loved, and that's wrong. The depth and breadth and longevity of your grief are not a reflection of how much you cared about the person. So you can't measure it that way. But I will tell you this, while it's individual and while you need to be patient and let each other go at your own pace, there is a point at which grief morphs into depression. And I'm here to tell you that I think for you, all the signs that you're showing with the rage and the alienation of other family members and the venting towards the boys indicates to me that this has gone beyond grief to the point of depression. I made a list of what I think are things that are markers to me that tell me that this has gone beyond grief. You said to Roland and Quentin, your brothers and dad would be disappointed in you. You're abandoning me. You're the worst sons in the world. You're not as great as Nathan and Austin. You're not as handsome as Nathan. You're terrible children. You don't love me. Your dad is worthless and stupid. When I'm drunk, I tell the truth. You required them to view graphic images in trial. You changed the last names from that of their father. You have said we, not you, we are just waiting to die.
He and I have said that together. Most of those things are taken out of context and not correct.
Put it in context for me. Because these are your words.
Okay, so
these are what you've said.
I'll address those things. The first one that says your brothers and your dad would be disappointed in you. And you're right, that is going to be that's an abusive statement. I should not have said that. You're abandoning me, I've never said that. Never. The worst sons in the world, I don't think I've ever said that either. You're not as handsome as Nathan. Probably said that in a rage. I have told them that they don't love me. Sometimes I feel like they don't. They come home from school, they go upstairs, and I just sit home downstairs by myself. They won't say hello to me when they come home, and I'm alone. So I try to engage with them, and they won't engage with me. And that's when they go to their room after I've come home. They've come home and I've been happy, and I try to welcome them home. I give them kisses and I'm happy, and they're like, no, no, no. And they go upstairs and I just sit in my yard, or I sit with my dog and I start thinking about, oh my God, I've lost everything, and they hate me. So I drink, and then I drink and I get mad, and by the end of the evening, I've thought of all of the things that are so sad for me,
And it makes me mad that they're upstairs and I'm sitting downstairs suffering by myself. Can't they just come and hang out with me? Can't they have dinner with me? Is it really too hard to ask them to, when I make dinner, to sit with me and have dinner with me? I'm asking for just to be family members. And that's what's upsetting. And that's what gets me into my rut and my hole where I am, because I'm trying and I'm doing everything the best I can. And I've done a really good job. That doesn't look like it. I do a good job for my boys.
You know, the last 3 minutes are the healthiest things that I've heard come out of your mouth.
I've said those things. I've said those things to so many people.
The things that you're saying.
I've tried everything. I've tried.
What you just said is that they just won't sit with me. I've done this, I've done that. I feel like they don't love me. I mean, all of those things are genuine, healthy, legitimate emotions, and I hear you.
Thank you.
The boys' Aunt Janet wrote to me very concerned for Quentin and Roland, and their uncle says Karina has alienated everybody and is using the tragedy as an excuse to drink. We're going to meet them next.
I tried to contact the boys, but my number was blocked.
Karina mostly communicates on Facebook for the family, but when Karina posts, she says very mean and nasty comments.
You too will join Tom and Evelyn in hell.
Now, the boys, Uncle Todd and Aunt Janet, are very concerned about their nephews because they say Karina has blocked them, Janet and Todd, from their lives. Take a look.
I have always been close to my nephews, but now Karina has blocked me from the boys.
Tom was like a son to me, and we were very close. I would like to get to know Quentin and Roland. Karina keeps them only to herself.
I tried to contact the boys, but my number was blocked.
Karina mostly communicates on Facebook for the family, but when Karina posts, she says very mean and nasty comments.
Aside from your beautiful daughters, you are the lowest person I have ever encountered.
I was so full of bitterness. The more I became angry, the more I'd drink. The more I'd lash out and destroy more of my relationships.
You too will join Tom and Evelyn in hell, and I'll figure out a way to get there too so I can show you what pain is.
Evelyn is my mother.
Just last week, I was planning to visit the boys, take them camping. I called them every week and verified everything was okay. And the night before I left, Karina sent a text that said, sorry, the boys can't meet with you this weekend. We have already planned another camping trip. She said she had got a new gun and they wanted to do some target practice with it. She said, more or less, we're going up and we're gonna go shoot. I don't think Karina should own a gun at this point. It scares me.
Okay, thank you all for being here. And you've actually not seen the boys since the trial, correct?
Right.
Todd, you made an attempt to visit the boys recently, but you say that Karina makes it difficult to do that because you're blocked, right?
Well, last week we had a camping trip planned, and the day before I got there, she sent me an email, said that wasn't possible. They had made other plans.
Okay.
That is not true in any way, shape, or form. Is that true?
I was never told we were going camping.
I didn't know you were coming until the day before you were coming when Quentin said, Todd will be here tomorrow. And I said, I thought we were going camping this weekend. And he said, well, we're leaving Saturday. He's going to be here on Friday. I said, have him over. He said, are you sure? We can just meet him after school somewhere. We can go to have lunch in the village after school. And I said, no, he probably wants to see where you are living. He probably wants to see that you guys are okay. And I invited you over, and I made them invite you over. I did not block you from my kids' lives. Those things that you're saying are not true. I have limited when you speak to the children about things that you shouldn't be speaking to them about. Because when you called the boys, you would talk to them about their finances and their businesses.
That's not true.
Okay, well, you can talk to the boys now. The only reason we're here now is because Quentin recently turned 18, and Todd will finally talk to somebody in our family, and it's only Quentin.
Well, this is what Todd said about the estate.
I am taking care of Tom's money because he left me as an executor.
I do not trust Todd with the estate.
Tom said specifically, if anything was to ever happen to me, this money is to go to my boys. It doesn't go to Karina.
I asked him to show us what the house was sold for. He would not give me one shred of information. He's breaking the law and not respecting his place.
The money is for the boys, and I want to make sure that the boys get the money.
It's been 3 years. They still don't have their money in the proper places. I'm not trying to take their money. I'm trying to help them make sure that it's in the proper accounts. That's all I'm trying to do.
I've been pretty open about it. And when you turned 18, when Quentin turned 18, I shared all of the information, line by line items of everything that was transpired from the beginning till that point.
I think the problem was that as soon as I turned 18 is when Uncle Todd started doing everything that he was supposed to do before I was even 18. That, like, the year that you were supposed to go do it, I was only 16. But it wasn't until I was 18 where you actually had to, when we started to do it.
Right. Well, I wanted to let you know. I wanted you to know that I'm not trying to take anything. I wouldn't take a dime from my brother or my nephews.
Well, coming up, Janet says she's worried the boys won't go to college because they're too worried for their mom. So we'll talk about that when we come back.
Karina started a GoFundMe page. I really don't know why, because the funeral was completely paid for. We do know that she bought some new cars right after she cashed in the GoFundMe page, and then she went on a trip to Spain. She did not take the boys. I don't have any idea what Karina has done with the money, but I do think that they have used it all.
Well, Karina admits that she really is not handling the grief well. Who are you really mad at? I mean, what's...
God.
He
took
really
my
let you
babies.
down that day.
He really did. He took my past and my future. We had a wonderful marriage. I don't want anyone to think that Tom and I didn't have a wonderful marriage. We did. He was a wonderful father. He was a great husband. And even after we were divorced, we were in communication every day. The things that Janet just said is preposterous. Those are all things that she's assuming and making up in her mind. I haven't used one penny of my son's money for myself. I drive a 2008 Toyota. I don't get my nails done. I don't buy myself clothes, nothing. Nothing have I taken from my sons, ever.
You say you're mad at God because he took away your life. He took away your future.
I just want them to come home. I just want them to come home. It's time now.
But the reality is, and
That they're not gonna come home.
they're not coming home. They've gone home. And right now, you are here, and Roland is here, and Quentin is here.
I know. They are your future.
And right now, your job is in the here and now. And look, I don't push my beliefs on anybody, but I do have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. I do believe in God. And
I didn't say I don't believe in him. I said I was mad at him.
No, and I know. I know that you believe in God, or you wouldn't be mad at him. And trust me, he's big enough for you to be mad at and handle that, and that's okay. But there comes a time where you have to say, I have two boys here, and these boys deserve not part of their mother, they deserve all of their mother. No matter how angry you get, no matter how much rage you feel, it's not going to bring those boys back to this world.
I know.
That relationship has changed from physical to spiritual. And I'm going to celebrate those boys every day of my life. When it comes to holidays, we're not going to not talk about them. We're going to celebrate them. We're going to put their pictures on the mantle. We're going to talk about them. I can hug these boys. I can hug these boys.
They won't hug me back.
Well...
They don't hug me back.
Well...
They don't.
You're a little prickly, Mom. You're a little prickly, Mom.
I don't know of boys that can love their mom more than these boys have done. You should be so proud of them.
You should read their interviews about you.
I'm going to.
They love you. They love you a lot. They love you famously. They also recognize. They also recognize that when you get drunk, you are a different person.
Right.
Coming up, I've got a plan to get this entire family back on track. We'll be right back. I first want to talk to you two. You two have been pushed into roles that have caused you to deal with adult issues way too early in your lives. I mean, that's one of the, I started out today talking about the fallout from what happens when a tragedy like this occurs. It's not just those that are lost on that day. The trickle-down effect throughout the whole family tree is terrifically powerful, and it's impacted you. I mean, at 15, you say you're having to be the man of the family, and so you're not able to grieve yourselves because you're trying to nurture and you're doing what we call upstream management. You're parenting the parent and trying to get her through this, and so you guys have created a new normal with new rules that aren't healthy for you and they're not healthy for her. But there comes a time where you do need to tend to your own needs, because if you don't, you can't be there to take care of your mother. You have to take care of yourself so you can take care of others. Because if you become emotionally bankrupt, you can't give away what you don't have. You have to take care of yourselves as well. And you want them to. And that's why you've agreed to come here, because you're saying, I realize what I'm doing is not okay. But no one has questioned your heart. I don't question that you love these boys. You've not heard me say that. I've questioned that you're not being appropriate with them and you're not being appropriate with yourself. And you said it very well. I said, who are you mad at? It didn't take you a millisecond to answer. You said, I'm mad at God. And that is exactly what I would expect you to say. And you're venting at available targets. Family's available, this guy's available, she's available, he's available. You vent at who's there, but you're mad at God. You have become addicted to your coping mechanism, which is alcohol. That blocks you from being able to grieve, because you never get to the grief because you're numbed all the time. You're in an altered state of consciousness. You're going to have to stop that. And when we take that away from you, we need to put something else in its place, or you're going to be left really, really exposed. And I have two things that I want to recommend for you. One is you need to be dealing with a trauma specialist, someone that deals specifically in trauma. Now, I don't know whether you can stop drinking on your own or not. I predict you probably can. Because of that, I think that you need to see a trauma specialist. And there's a place that I want you to go. And it's a place called Onsite. And it's in Nashville, Tennessee. And they are the worldwide leader in intensive workshops for people that have been through trauma. And it is a time for you to say, okay, you know what? I got to put myself in the shop. I've got to say, time out. I'm going to go do this and be selfish and put myself at the top of the list. Then there will be some family counseling that takes place among the three of you, but not until you've gone through this trauma work. If I set this up for you, will you do this?
Of course.
Does that make sense to y'all? Let's get her some help and get her this trauma under control, this monster of rage under control, and then we'll deal with this family situation and let you guys get back to being teenagers. All right. Okay, I want to thank all of my guests today, and a special thanks to OnSite for helping Karina. For more information about today's show, you can log on to drphil.com. Tell us what you think on Facebook and Twitter. We're going to have a lot of resources because I know a lot of people go through grief, and you know there's a way to be more efficient about this sometimes than letting it morph into something more than it has to be. We'll see you next time.